How's it going, friends? It's been a while. I just came back from Las Vegas. I was on a road trip with one of my best buddies after the event, and we had a blast. We went through Arizona, Utah, saw Grand Canyon, Zion National Park, did all kinds of stuff, spent some time in Vegas. Good times. The Pro Tour happened, of course, as well right before, and now, right when I'm coming back here last night on Monday, I arrive in Frankfurt, and what do I see? 7 cards banned in standard. This is exceptional, I would say. I've been playing this game for 10 years, and there has been windows of time where cards have been like, I think Rogue Refiner, Ferocidon, Attune with Aoife. I think that was a pretty big sort of ban. I think Hazoret they also kicked out at one time, but 7 cards at once, that is certainly unusual. And this approach is in a way a little bit of a forced rotation, you could almost say, because I mean it's just look at some of these cards are literally format defining. We've by doing this, you've killed, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 out of the top 10 archetypes in the metagame right now. It's interesting, and I guess let's go talk about each of them specifically, and I'll try to give a little bit of my perspective, I guess, and what I think about them specifically, and then also the bigger picture with what standard is going to maybe look like. Yeah, so Curry Steel Cutter, let's start with that one. The card is incredible, format defining. I'm not surprised to see this one banned. I'm happy they did it. I feel like they could have been sort of, oh no, this just came out and talk here, it's like 3 months out, and oh, we don't want to ban a new card. Luckily, they didn't have that sort of blockade in their mind. Luckily, they just took it out. Yeah, I mean, people now would be saying, oh, look at the Pro Tour, it just had 49% win rate. Yeah, the thing is, yes, it did have 49% win rate, but everybody had to target it. Everybody had to be prepared for it. The mirror match had to be prepared for it. I didn't hate the standard format going into this event. I felt like you had enough options to play other decks. Looking at Omniscience, great performance, and even Mono Red. Like, Izzet Prowess is certainly not the dominating, very best of the best type deck that, will just always have a very high percent win rate. No, it's not. You can target it, but you have to commit a lot to target it. And that's the issue about the card. It is also very snowballing. It's very hard to 1-for-1. It's just not a card that should exist in standard, realistically speaking. At least not with sleight of hand, opt, legal at the same time. If you would instead ban sleight of hand and opt, we wouldn't really see much Curry Steel Cutter, if at all. But just ban this card and leave opt and sleight of hand, because they're actually interesting for other spell-based decks potentially. So yeah, I'm very happy about that one. Heartfire Hero Monstrous Rage, that is there to nerf the red decks. Yeah, I mean, Monstrous Rage, I feel like it had to be certainly either one of them. It's a little, I'm not going to say I was surprised to see them ban both. I do think those two are pretty reasonable options. You could have also banned Manifold Mouse, maybe, as that one is enabling the double strike, which enables the very good Heartfire Hero draws. I feel like this card is not that good without Manifold Mouse. There's just a lot less good ways to trigger it, actually, and that curve is so threatening, right? So you could have maybe banned Manifold Mouse instead of the hero, but I think it's fine either way. Banning one or the other essentially nerfs the entire package, and then banning Monstrous Rage, you could maybe have let this be in the format, but I understand sort of the sentiment that we've played with and against this card for like a long time at this point. It's been, very dominating in standard. It's a very good card. One of the best pump spell type effects we've had ever. I wouldn't say it's inherently broken or had to be banned, but especially also kicking out hero makes Monsters Rage, of course, a lot worse. But it is reasonable to do so for gameplay pattern reasons. For example, looking at building your decks in standard, Death Touch became such a huge important ability. As you know, your average 3-mana creature was just not good into the face of like 1-mana creatures plus Monsters Rage, right? So that really put a lot of restriction on how you build your deck in a face of Monsters Rage format. Again, you could still argue that, hey, kicking out Hero and Curry Steelcutter will also by default reduce the amount of Monsters Rage that see play and remove that entire problem already, or at least decrease the existence of Monsters Rage. So I don't know, but I can see the argument for banning it, and I'm not gonna be super sad about it either. Anyhow, let's talk about Up the Beanstalk. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily surprised to see this. Well, if you ban a lot of cards, then Up the Beanstalk makes sense to ban in that card window as well. It's been banned in Modern for a while. Very powerful effect. It was certainly not dominating in current standard whatsoever. Domain was just a very small player for this Pro Tour and for the months before. So yeah, but I guess the argument here is that if you ban all the other good cards and you leave Beanstalk around, Beanstalk might take over, and I think that's some of the preemptive banning that has been done here. We'll Hopeless Nightmare, especially one of those as well, because Nightmare and Beanstalk were not very good cards. This turn ain't big enough, not very present cards in the current metagame. But if you ban all the good red cards, what takes over? Probably the Pixie archetype of Nightmare, or probably some Domain, or we have the rotation coming in a month or two, in a month actually, in a month. So we'll lose some of the domain cards like Leyline Binding, but hey, you still have the Overlords, and you might still have other things come in. Beanstalk, I kind of think this is a cool type of card, as it puts a pretty strong deck restriction on you. It's not just a you could say Curry Steelcutter as well, but Curry Steelcutter, you play with a bunch of cheap 1-mana cards. The restriction on this one is less harsh than putting mana value 5 or greater cards into your deck. And yes, the Overlords let you cheat a little bit. Right's End and Leyline Binding let you cheat. But I don't know. I kind of like this. But hey, it might have been just a preemptive. It's difficult to predict. I feel like this ban is certainly already. Did you have to do that? I'm not so sure about that one. But I understand the reasoning behind it, and I'm not personally gonna miss it. It's it's a very good card against blue control decks, which I enjoy playing. It's very, very good into those, of course, and it is a very powerful card. It is a very, very powerful card. So on that merit, you can preemptively ban it, I would say. Abuelo's Awakening. This one's a little surprising to me. I would have thought they would ban Omniscience if they would, or like when I saw this, I was surprised by it, of course. Like taking this one out over Omniscience, I don't know. There's other reanimation effects for Omniscience. They all cost 5. The 4-mana is, of course, that's really where it's at. But if you want to take out the entire archetype, you'd rather take out the Omniscience, I would say. Omniscience is just a messed up card that, at any moment in time in the standard, it's going to be legal for a while now, and we'll see. I mean, there might be another combo deck with it. I guess the reasoning here is they really want to keep the Omniscience archetype for the future around. They want to have that type of combo deck, which fair enough. I hope it won't go wrong. And then this is logically reason this is like cutting, I don't know, this is like cutting off a leg and not, getting rid of it entirely, but cutting off the leg might mean that Omniscience is just weak enough going forward. And I would think that it is, especially considering what they left in the format, which I'm also going to talk about in a moment. This turn ain't big enough. This one is a little surprising to me as well. I mean, it's a very powerful effect, interacts with anything. But I think banning Nightmare makes this card a lot worse. A lot worse. You really hit, by the way, you really hit like stuff like Blue-Green Terror, which was a fringe deck, by banning 2 of the most important cards for that attack, for that deck. I don't know, this one I'm very skeptical of. I feel like when you ban Nightmare, this turn ain't big enough. Really, it's a lot worse, and I don't really understand the banning of it. You know, you're not banning Nurturing Pixie either. Lately, there wasn't even any Esper Pixie around, really. It was just Black-White Pixie that saw a little bit of play. Really weird ban. You can try to find arguments for it by suggesting, oh, this bounces your 4-mana enchantment thing that you wanted to have played or whatever. It interacts with everything. But if you say that, then shouldn't you already ban stuff like Get Lost? You know what I mean? Like, I think that was the reasoning in their article. And we're not banning Get Lost, are we? So like, I don't know. I'm very this one I disagree with the most of all of these. Yeah, I feel like you chopped off enough of that archetype by killing the Nightmare, to be honest. Yeah, and Nightmare, I like that ban, to be honest. I did not expect to see this ban in Standard when I first played with it in Limited, and years later we played it in Constructed finally. But yeah, it is a really obnoxious card to play against mostly. The difference between drawing it and not drawing it in your opening hand in the Pixie archetypes is huge. It makes that deck look anemic when you don't have it, and like it looks incredible when you have it. It's not a very fun effect to play against. Discard and lose 2 is pretty powerful. It's a very strong synergy card, like up the beanstalk. You need to build your entire deck around it. But when that all works, it is very powerful. And I like that preemptive ban because, if you ban all these good red cards, and Beanstalk and Abuelo's Awakening, I think at that point we would have seen Nightmare dominate Standard. And so that is a good ban, I think. Yeah. All right. Well, certainly super interesting to see all these bans. I like change, I suppose. I like all of that. But there's one thing that whenever people approach me about like, hey, we have to ban this and that, for example, I remember during like November, December last year, people were saying, oh, we have to ban Kaito, Bane of Nightmares, and Enduring Curiosity, and of course Monsters Rage at that time too, because Dimir midrange and Gruul are so powerful, right? And now nobody's talking about Dimir anymore. It's not even being targeted by any of the bans here. But yeah, back then I used to say like, hey, if you cut one thing away, another thing will basically grow out of it. And we've killed all these cards now. And I prepared some cards here in the sideboard that I think might fill in the need of future bans as well. This is a pretty drastic statement to make, I guess, but you get rid of all of this, which like Nightmare and Abuelo's Awakening, Monsters Rage, they were all powerful and they were all playing their part in the metagame. And now you've completely cut all of that out, but that might mean that other things will replace it or be even more oppressive. Yeah? Sure, the format as a whole is a lot weaker, less powerful, but only because it's less powerful, that might not mean that other decks can't become 50% of the metagame share. Looking at Kaito, Bane of Nightmares and Enduring Curiosity especially. I mean, Dimir Midrange was the best deck for a while, and you've killed its worst enemy. You've gotten rid of Hopeless Nightmare and this turn big enough. Both of them pretty good against the Dimir Midrange archetype. So, I mean, it's the clear best deck day one, I would say, that the Dimir Midrange is. And it could just turn out to be the absolute dominator of the next Standard format. I'm painting a pretty dark picture here. It might not be it. It might be balanced out in a good way, and it might just play its part in the metagame, or it might be a best deck type of deck that is sort of healthy, as it's you can interact with it with creature removal, planeswalker removal, I guess. But it could play out badly. So that's something I was a little surprised of. Maybe like instead of this turn big enough, you banned Kaito or you banned Curiosity. I kind of would have liked that perhaps as well. That is really the obvious one I would have done myself if I go this route of banning all these things. I think the other thing you could have done is you could have banned maybe just like Monsters Rage and Curry Steelcutter, and see how things play out then. Maybe people, because you take out Izzet Prowess, they can target Omniscience enough to weaken that deck. Although maybe you don't have, maybe you have to ban the hero. Honestly, I think Rage is too replaceable. If you keep the hero around, I think the hero ban is smarter. Yeah. So, but now we never have the options. We never will see the future where we would have played a format with Abuelo's Awakening and Omniscience legal, and sort of not too much other distraction we have to worry about. Anyways, I feel like that's a fine ban. I don't want to keep talking about that one. But yeah, I mean, going down that route, not having Curiosity on this list is a little worrisome, or Kaito, I guess. All right. The rest of the cards I have featured here are some of the things that, are maybe obvious tier 1, tier 2 choices going forward. Or if you are, you have a store championship this weekend and you have some cards laying around that that are not like banned because, most of your standard decks are probably killed off. Then, you can look at Convoke. Gleeful Demolition, very powerful effect. We have Night Errant of Eos around for a month. That one will rotate, and Gleeful will rotate as well. But it could be a strong deck this month until the next set comes out. Insidious Roots, saw Team Handshake. We worked a lot on this deck for the Pro Tour, and some of us played it, and Elika Seas went 8-2 with it. It's certainly a strong, powerful deck. Insidious Roots is a pretty busted card. It didn't lose anything. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a big player. Also losing maybe a bigger opponent in the future, which temporary lockdown goes away. That reduces the need to run Haywire Mites. So yeah, Insidious Roots certainly powerful. Haywire Mite will rotate though. Anyhow, that should be a thing going forward. Stock up, the best card draw effect we've seen in a long time. Still around. Control decks, maybe some combo decks will certainly abuse it. I feel like this card's fine to keep in standard. It is very powerful, but I think it's reasonable to leave it in here. It's not really an unfair effect, and you can keep an eye on it. I don't think it will ever be the type of card that dominates standard. It could, but unlikely. And yeah, Shiko Paranorth the way. Just, Jeskai control, blue-white control, Demir midrange, all the Annex Demons decks, they haven't lost a card. And Shiko is certainly very, very powerful, especially with stock up. I mean, Jeskai control the deck I played at the Pro Tour this time around, which I will do a video on. But I guess I had to do this ban video before that because this is just what happened right away when I came back. So yeah, Shiko is another great thing to be doing probably in the first weeks of this coming standard format. And yeah, my plan going ahead is going to be to focus on standard. I'm back from tournament prep. The next Pro Tour is in the mid of September, so 2.5 months from now. There's no really big tournaments coming up. I don't have any big vacations planned. I might do some trips in the summer here in Germany maybe, or in Europe spontaneously. But besides that, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be playing some standard. I'm going to do content, maybe stream a little bit more. I certainly have a lot of time on my hand without any tournaments ahead of me besides like Arena Direct stuff. I don't even have to play the qualifier weekend as I'm already qualified for the Arena Championship. Yeah. I'm excited for sure. I'm excited for the standard format. I'm always excited for change. It means you can use all your deck building skills. You can try to break the new format. I love doing that, as I love doing that with stuff like Alchemy or even other arena only formats, as they're less explored, right, than Modern and Standard and Pioneer, whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited for the future. That's my plans going forward. I hope you enjoyed this little band talk video, which 20 minutes talking. I guess that's a good amount. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about the bans. Let me know if I missed anything, any great argument for or against leaving a card in the format. Or what do you think will, dominate Standard? What do you think about not banning Kaito or Enduring Curiosity? Let me know. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.